Hello there, creative hearts, and welcome to month 9 of our 12 months of wholeness through creativity, where we're making beauty from ashes and bringing pieces together to create peace through monthly creative products that require no artistic skill. But they help reduce stress and heal trauma through the creative process and bring us joy, peace, and fun. Each month, we're working on a different project and technique, and we are 3/4 of the way through these free freedom and simplicity fundamental lessons. Summertime is fun time, and that is time to play and get messy. And that's what we've been doing instead of the more structured projects that we had been doing. We've been gaining freedom in our own creativity and growing in our art through experimenting and practice this summer. This month, we're going to continue that with paint pouring. I try to keep the projects highly affordable, using supplies over and over again in different projects, as well as giving you less expensive options that you can try that may not be as good a quality, but can be something that you can just try as you practice and learn and gain experience and decide if this is a type of crafting and artistic outlet that you want to continue working on. So this month we'll be using acrylic paints again. We used these 2 months ago for our gel printing in our art journals. So if you've done that project, you may have almost everything you need on hand. So let's take a look at the supplies we need for this month's projects. Again, like I said, for most of these, you're probably going to have something around your house that you're going to be able to use. So the first thing you need to do is protect your work surface, because this is a messy craft. Best to cover your table or whatever surface or on the floor, cover that with some type of plastic, such as a drop cloth, a trash bag, a grocery bag, open silicone, or your no-stick craft mats can work if they're big enough. You may want these as your secondary cover after you've put your drop cloth on. Another thing I like to use is freezer paper because it's plastic coated, and I especially like this for drying my projects, for letting them sit and dry and cure, because you want something that's plastic or non-stick so that your paint does not stick your project to whatever surface it is on for drying. Another thing that you may want to use is something to catch the drips as your paint pour comes off. This is something that it'll catch your paint and you can allow that to dry, and that paint is not wasted. You can use those paint skins in other projects that you do, such as in your art journal or in collage things, or even make jewelry out of them. So something for that is an optional shallow tray. This can be anything that's shallow, that's bigger than your canvas or the project that you're working on. Again, it can be a piece of plastic or your mat. Some things you can do is take a shallow box and just stick it into a plastic bag, or I've even seen people use paint trays and put them into a bag. You can buy a drip paint tray specifically for this purpose and use that. You could line a box with aluminum foil or plastic, or you could buy the disposable foil baking pans, such as at the Dollar Tree, like you would bake a cake or a casserole in and take somewhere that could be thrown away after you're done with it. So those are some options you can use. And again, you've probably got something at home that you can use, even if it's just a trash bag covering your surface and then a shallow box put inside a plastic grocery bag or something to catch your drips. The next thing you're going to need is containers, and you're going to need both smaller mixing containers and larger pouring containers and storage containers. Again, these can be either plastic or glass. You can use things as small as little condiment cups, or shot cups are the same, hold the same ounces, but they're taller and thinner. I like the condiment cups because they come with lids, and then that way I can store leftover paint in these with the lids on them. The bathroom size cups, either the 3 or the 5 ounce can work. I will tell you, these clear ones are not as sturdy as the white ones usually, and so you might have to use 2 layers of these, especially when you're doing the actual pouring, just to give them a little more stability. And then your bigger size, these ones are actually more of the punch type cups, so they're not straight up, but like an 8 or 9 ounce cup would be good for these also. And of course, you can save empty jars and use them too, especially if they have lids. They can work out great for this. So again, the little shot cup size you could find at the dollar store if you don't have anything like this on hand. As you saw, recycled jars, mayonnaise jars, spaghetti jars, those types of things. You can buy squeeze bottles, again, at the Dollar Tree, so for just $1. You can even use empty yogurt containers, empty applesauce containers, those types of plastic cups, and like the yogurt ones may even have a lid that you can put on. Things without the lid, you could use press and seal to cover the top of them. So smaller and larger containers, either plastic or glass, to both mix your paint in, to mix your pour in, and possibly to store your leftovers. The next thing you're going to need is a pouring medium. And you can buy pouring medium at your art supply stores, and that is going to cost you $1 to $2 per ounce. Maybe you can find it on sale for 60 to 75 cents an ounce. But another product that you could use that's far less expensive, you get at the hardware store, and that's called Floetrol by Flood. And this is exactly the same thing as a pouring medium would be. Obviously, this one isn't made for art paint pouring, but the purpose of it is to improve flow and leveling of your paint. And that's exactly what we want our pouring medium to do in paint pouring. So this works great, and is going to cost you more like 10 to 30 cents per ounce. So far, far cheaper. And it also can help you save by not having to buy other products too that you might want to mix in. If you don't want to go to the hardware store to get the Floetrol, and you don't want to pay the money for the pouring medium in the art supply department, a couple other options of things that you might have on hand would be Elmer's Glue All or Mod Podge. Again, Mod Podge, you can find a little container of that at the Dollar Tree usually. You could use that. As I said, you want the glue all, not the school glue. But if you have school glue on hand and that's all you have and you don't want to buy anything else, you can certainly practice and start with this. You're not going to get as good of a pour. Your project isn't going to be lasting, but to just start and practice and experiment, you could certainly try that. The next thing, obviously, you're going to need paint. And as I said, you're going to want acrylic paint, and this can be anything from your craft paints to your artist tube acrylics for this. You can even buy pre-mixes that have the artist paints mixed in with a pouring medium. Again, that's going to be a little more expensive, but use whatever you have. For me, as you've seen in my other videos in this course, I use Dylusions acrylics paints and also Distress acrylic paints. I do not, or have not yet anyhow, used those in paint pouring because those are a little more expensive specialty paints and there's no need to go for that. You may think that your little dollar craft paints are going to be a lot cheaper to use for this type of project than your tube acrylics will be, but it isn't necessarily so because you use less of these. These are more highly pigmented, they're also thicker, so you're going to use less of your artist grade acrylics. The one thing that you probably don't want, again, if it's what you have, use them, but the heavy bodied acrylic paints, whether they're in the tubes, like these ones are in the small tubes, but your heavy bodied ones that come out more like peanut butter consistency or a thick toothpaste or something, they're going to be a lot harder to mix up. So you want your soft body acrylics that come out very soft. They're going to be the easiest to mix up. You can use your pearlescence or metallics, whatever you have, whatever look you're going for will work. If all you've got on hand is like your kids' craft project paints, you can even use these. I've done some experimenting with the tempera paints. Again, it's cheap. You can practice with it. You're not going to get a great long-lasting project, but you can do them. The only thing that I have heard is that the Sargent brand does not work very well. But again, you can find something like this, again, small bottles at the Dollar Tree. I believe it's called poster paint there, but that would be another option for something that if you have no supplies on hand and you just want to pay like $5 to get started, you could go to Dollar Tree and get some poster paints, a little thing of Mod Podge, and you could get started. You're going to need some stir sticks. Again, craft sticks work great for these. You can find these at the Dollar Tree. Again, the thin ones work great for your smaller containers. If you're using a bigger jar container, you can use the wider sticks. So again, whatever you have and whatever works for what you're doing. If you don't have craft sticks, don't want to buy any, do you have plastic spoons in your cupboard at home? Use those. And if not, again, that's something you could pick up at the dollar store. Next thing, obviously, you need something to pour your paint on. You need a substrate. And basically, this can be anything that's not going to warp when it gets wet. So the thing that we think of most often is a canvas, and that can be your framed canvas, or it can be a canvas panel. Generally, you'll see people working on bigger canvases, but I think these small sizes are great for practicing and experimenting and just getting used to doing it. Again, they're small, they're not going to make as big of a mess, they're not going to use as much product, so it can be a very inexpensive way to get started. And you can still make some really cute things and some cool gifts that you can give. In fact, these can make great journal or book covers. Do a couple of them and bind them together with your papers inside and create your own art journal with a really cool cover from this. You could use wood. This can be a rectangular or square piece of wood, or maybe you have leftover wood shapes from other projects that you're doing. Just gesso the wood, and that can be a great surface for you to use. Another thing you can use is chipboard. And again, this could be some chipboard that you have from some other project or that came in some packaging or something. Or it could even be the back of a tablet. It can work for this. This one's a little flimsy, and I notice that tablets keep getting flimsier and flimsier backs on them. But if you've got some older tablets, you probably have some good sturdy chipboard there. Not going to be as good to use, not going to be a good permanent surface to make a big project on, but you could even use cardstock. If you're using a heavyweight cardstock, over 100 pounds or something, you could even use that and just put it on the back of a clipboard or something that's going to sturdy it up. But again, this is going to warp when you get done, but it could be practice just for you to get started and see. So another option of just using things that you've already got on hand. You may want to wear gloves if you don't want to get your hands all painted. Totally up to you if you like getting messy or not. You may want to wear an apron to not ruin your clothes. You're going to want some water. I usually just fill a jar of water. I have my spray bottle of water that's almost always on my crafting desk, and some paper towels to clean up any messes that you make. Some optional things, if you really get into this, you may want a cell creator, cell medium. Again, you can buy one at the art department of your craft store. That's going to be kind of pricey, but you only need a drop or two of that. If you've bought like the Liquitex brand pour medium, if you want cells, you're going to need to buy something like this because it does not automatically create cells. But your Floetrol does help create cells. So just try it first without a cell creator and see if you get the effect you want, or if you want to buy a cell creator to add to that. But you don't have to buy the expensive art supply one again. You can buy liquid silicone lubricant, and if the cell creator is on sale for half price, it's going to come out to about the same price as that liquid silicone. So it's about half the price. You can also buy treadmill belt lubricant, or even again at the dollar store, you can get auto lubricant in a spray. And I've heard that WD-40 can even be used, which I would assume would be the same type of thing as the auto lubricant. But this silicone is what you're looking for to make the cells, and that's what your cell mediums are. They may or may not be 100%. I believe I've heard that some of them are as low as 12% silicone in there. But it's something you can try if you want. Some paint pourers use a torch to pop the air bubbles and help bring the cells to the top. We are not going to do that in any of our experiments today because we're keeping it fundamental and simple in just getting started. But you could use a heat gun for that if you've already got a heat gun that you're doing embossing with, that we've done in several projects already this year. You could use that to help pop the air bubbles, but it's not going to be quite the same in bringing the cells to the surface. And for this project, a hairdryer is definitely not a substitute for that. So I think I've covered about everything that you need to go gather and get started. Again, something, plastic torn open bag to cover your entire surface you're working on, a craft mat or freezer paper or something like that to catch your drips, or possibly a shallow plastic or cardboard box that you've covered with plastic or foil for that. Your paint, whatever you have on hand and want to get, as long as it's an acrylic paint, it will work. Your pouring medium, and then some containers, some plastic or glass cups and jars, and then your cleanup, your stir sticks, and then your cleanup supplies of paper towels and water. And these little cards work out to, I don't know, 50 cents to $1 a piece, I think. Actually, I think I paid, yeah, they were $4 and I got them half price. So about 50 cents a piece that I paid for these canvas panels. So go gather your supplies together and we will be back to get started on this month's project. So let's get started to have some fun, some freedom and simplicity, and go make something beautiful and be freely whole.